Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be flipping through January in my 2026 journal. Let's go ahead and dive right in. You guys, we're already 1 month down in here and I am super excited to share how it went with you. I am having to film this slightly before the end of January because I'm going to be getting on a plane and heading to Southeast Asia, and I won't be back until the middle of February. So I wanted to get this filmed so that I could share it while I'm gone. And when I do my February flip through, I will just share those last few pages of January. So if you are new here or new to this journal, I am in the daily planner from Sterling Ink. This is an undated daily planner, so it does have the actual dates. It just doesn't have a year, so you could use this in any year. And I'm using it for 2026. So I'm just going to flip through a few of the beginning pages just for context, but I do have a separate video setting up this journal. And I did an annual vision board, and I did an annual goal page. This page here, I'm doing a kind of list of almost like an index of what is happening from each, kind of on each of those daily pages. And then I have a key here for when I'm traveling, book reviews, or TV and movie reviews. So I have a couple of books that I've done and a couple of TV and movies. I didn't travel at all yet in January, but I will be traveling soon. And so I will always identify the travel spreads because I do a lot of travel journaling in here. And those spreads look a little bit different because they highlight what I did on that trip. In this bottom box, I intend to put a photo of me from the month. I didn't put one for January yet because the last few days of January, I am going to be on vacation and I'm hoping to get a good photo of me there to include. And we go into the monthly calendar. So for the monthly calendars, I'm doing this exactly the same way I did in my Hobonichi cousin for the last couple of years, where I basically pick an icon per day to highlight whatever's happening that day. Sometimes it's very literal. Other times it is not so literal. Like the snow is very literal. Other times it's like a chair was probably for like resting at home. Sometimes I can't even remember what it was about, but I still like to see kind of a glimpse of the month. This year, I'm adding in some doodles in addition to stickers and icons cut out for magazines to basically just have a recap of the month. I'm also adding in some larger words in a few places. So I like the idea that I'm able to add in doodles this year. I want to work on my doodle skills. And I also sometimes want to do something like here, I wanted to do the dentist. I did not have a sticker or anything cut out that would work for a dental visit. So just drawing it myself made it so much easier. And I like how they all look together. So one of the reasons I switched to this journal rather than the Hobonichi cousin is there are no weekly spreads, which is very nice for me. It's one less thing I need to keep up with. And because I do the take a note, that kind of takes the place of needing a vertical weekly. So if you are also curious about seeing that in my other journals, I did share another video with a flip through of all of my other journals and planners for the month of January, so you can go ahead and check that one out separately. Getting to the daily pages, it starts with this half a page where I'm putting my monthly goals. I started kind of tracking a few of how they went. I haven't checked a lot of the things off yet because I haven't done them and because the month of January isn't entirely over. So some of these I'm going to probably come back and reflect on them in the beginning of February or probably honestly after I get back from vacation. Then we go into my daily pages. So I'm just trying to find my style in here. For my daily pages, I tend to do a lot of writing. I use some fountain pens, but mostly I've been using a gel pen. I've been using a few of these Uniball one. It's 0.38 gel pen. They're like these chunky barrel ones. They also have, here's the like standard barrel ones. If you don't like the chunky barrel, they write exactly the same. For some reason, I really prefer the chunky barrel feel. I just find them to be so fun and nice to use. I'm adding in things that I've printed off the internet, things cut out of magazines, stickers. Whenever I have ephemera to add in here, I really, really love that. Adding in washi tape and stickers as well. I think my favorite spreads are like this one where I'm adding in a collection of things. So I'm really just trying to figure out like how to make that work for my layouts and finding my way in here. I also realized that the days of the week were not included because it is undated. So the day of the week will change depending on what year it is. So I've decided to start adding that in. So I decided to use like a theme for each week. I'm not sure if I'll stick with that, but so far I really like it. And these ones are from Cocoa Daisy. I have a lot of weekly stickers from Cocoa Daisy, so I'm probably going to use those a lot of the time. I'm adding in reflections on media. So here's my first book of the year. I added in the dates and then my 5 stars and my review. I often fill that in on a page where I don't have a lot else going on that day or I didn't have a lot to journal about. Usually it's because it's a long work day. Tuesdays are always long work days. Adding in ephemera. Swatching new washi tape. Another review in here. Sometimes I like to do this where I add like little titles throughout for all these little micro stories. Other times I do just some more longer journaling. I usually do like to add some large words because then when I flip through, rather than reading everything, I can see some of the highlights from the day. This page had a few kind of blank spots, but I felt like it was done. I tend to do most of my journaling on the actual day, but a lot of times I don't have the time to finish the spread. Here, starting a new week, I use these stickers. I'm not going to put them at the top every time so you don't end up with like the bulk all in the same spot. But sometimes I will just come back throughout the month and I kind of feel like the entire month is kind of a work in progress as I go. And we'll often go back and work on older spreads if I have some additional time. Adding in ephemera from my life. Swatching some new washi. Doing a little doodle again. I loved how that doodle came out. I really need to do more doodling in here. This was a super busy work day, so it was a good spot to put another 5-star read from the year. Loved that book and do a lot of reflecting on it. I want to add a lot more magazine cutouts, so I'm trying to prioritize doing that a little bit more. Adding in some stickers. It's playing with some different like angling on the page. Making lists, just kind of like whatever is on my mind that day. So I'm not always journaling about what happened that day. Often that is kind of the jumping off point for my page, but sometimes it'll just be like, this is what I felt like doing. Here I felt like cutting up magazines, so I decided to write out a list of the magazine subscriptions I have. So this is my last day in the office before going on vacation. I finished watching a rewatch of Gilmore Girls, so I put a review of that here. And then here I have adding in some more magazine cutouts. This day was just a lot of like content creation. And then Sunday was a super busy snow day, just staying in, working on content creation. And I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of time to journal. So I instead put this quote in here that I saved out of a magazine. And I feel like that's a good way to kind of fill a page when I don't have much else to include. So the next few days are still blank because they haven't happened yet. But then at the end of the month, I have my monthly vision board. This is different from last year where they were at the beginning of the month. Honestly, I would prefer it to be at the beginning of the month, but this is where they gave you an extra page. So it's falling at the end of the month this year, but I do love that I have a full page spread for it. Then in the back of the book, I have there's this tab. So there's a few just like blank pages. And my plan is to create some extra spreads with highlights from the year. So the only one I've started so far is this one, which is in the news. And I'm wanting to like keep track of things that happen in the world. This is all about the Minneapolis ice and just horrible stuff that's happening so far. But I guess I'm not surprised, unfortunately. I don't want to take up too much space because I don't know what else is going to happen. But my plan is to add to this throughout the year. And then I've kind of through the spreads. I'm thinking I'm going to do one for each travel destination, so I'll have a little bit of extra space in addition to my daily pages. But otherwise, you know, I have a couple like milestone things coming up, but otherwise not anything too huge that I'm anticipating. But I have a couple extra spreads, so we'll see kind of how that goes throughout the year. But yeah, that's a look at how January came together in my journal. I really, really love it. I'm loving this layout so much. I like that the pages, so we flip to a blank one. There's not a lot on here, whereas the Hobonichi had like the quote at the bottom. It had that line that was like a third of the way in, which always made me kind of split my page awkwardly. So now I can kind of split my page either into 2 even columns, or I can do a full all the way across. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there is like this little dot here to split the page evenly in half. And there's even one here to split this way into like quadrants. So it's super easy if I want to do 2 columns for my journaling like this, but I don't always do that. Sometimes I'll journal all the way across, or like here, I just made it a little bit bigger, just depending on whatever I am filling in. So that's how January went in my journal. I'm super excited to bring this one with me to Southeast Asia and get some travel spreads in here in February and continue on. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.